So welcome. Today we are going to have another conversation with one of our wonderful capacity building workshops, Sheena Shaw, who's been leading on mentoring our project leaders in Africa, has invited a colleague of hers, Nicholas Syano, to present on his work as the director of the Drylands Natural Resources Center in Eastern Kenya. So welcome Sheena and Nicholas. Sheena will
Thank you.
introduce Nicholas and we will jump into some quick introductions of who's on the call today, and then we'll take a few photos and hear from Nicholas. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Mary. Nicholas, it's very nice to have you on this webinar with us. Thank you for making the time and being with us today in your busy schedule, because I know you're actually hosting a permaculture design certification course at your center there. So you could tell us a little bit more about that and how it's going. But obviously you and I, we've known each other for many years now. We worked together at the Permaculture Research Institute of Kenya for many years, and not to mention you are one of the founding members of that of the PRI Kenya. So it's a pleasure to have you on this webinar with us, and also for those that are joining in, thank you for being here today and making the time. As you know, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to rewatch it at your own time later. So Nicholas, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Very well, Sheena. And hi, everyone. Mary, and I can see Jono. Hi.
Hello, Nicholas. This is Priscilla.
Hi, Priscilla. Nice to see you, Priscilla.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, we also have Paul, actually.
Yeah, hi, Nicholas.
Hi, Paul. Is that Paul?
Yeah, it's me. It's been a while, huh?
Sure, long time.
Yeah.
Yes, it's how have you been?
Okay, I'm actually good. We are doing good. We are still working with Sheena on another project in Western Kenya, but I think we'll talk more after this.
Sure,
yeah,
no problem.
But all in all, I'm good. Yeah.
Nice to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a few individuals that are also joining in from different parts, and we're very grateful for your time. So Nicholas, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself? How did you get started in this work? What has inspired you to start this work as well? And tell us a little bit about your center that you run out there in Makueni, Eastern Kenya.
Thank you, Sheena. And also Mary for making this possible. It's nice also to connect with some of my students, Paul and who is this? Priscilla. For those who we have not met, and to answer Sheena's question is about myself. I'm trained in dryland resource management. So I'm a specialist in the drylands. My master's was mostly on the best in dry tree species for the drylands. My PhD now is on dryland resource management, but looking at dryland agroforest systems. And the variables I'm looking mostly is it's ecological, social, and economic. So I tied into sustainability of looking at these agroforest systems. The other thing you need to know is also I practice permaculture a lot. I consult a lot. Let's say since I did it since I left PRI Kenya, I have been consulting a lot on permaculture. And now agroecology is becoming a big issue. I have also jumped into that. I have been helping many projects to train their people on agroecology and permaculture. I'm also trying to do a large-scale permaculture in Kitui. And the other part I think what is relevant to our discussion is about, I started in the NRC, which is in Drylands Natural Resources Center, and I studied this at home. I came to where I was born because we faced many problems and I started to work with my people. You see best practices in agroforestry, in permaculture, agroecology, at least to solve most of the problems we face in the drylands. So basically what you can easily see, Nicholas, is a person trained mostly on dryland natural resource management. Anything which touches drylands, and I was born in drylands, I stay in drylands, so that's who I am. And Sheena, do you want to jump into what inspired to start the NRC or?
Yes, what inspired you to start DNRC, and that name as well is pretty unique, which stands for Drylands Natural Resources Center. Why did you start this center, and what has it done for the community so far?
Good. I just a bit on background. I got a chance to travel to US and for scholarship on natural resource management. And when I was still in the US, I saw that country is very well developed. Things work. They have nice environment. I remember working with one of my colleagues, was a Chinese student. They could tell me, this place is so green. I was in Wisconsin, Stevens Point. So there's a lot of trees, clean lakes. And then as I learned this, I also felt, wait a minute. Can I carry this knowledge, international experience, and my studies to do something at home? Because as I enjoyed the trees there, I could flash back when I was growing up in our place. The environment was quite okay. In fact, in terms of trees, it was highly reforested. There was a lot of trees. And also there was a very big river next to home where we could swim, enjoy nature's services, and also enjoy like fishing, hunting, all those ecosystem services provided by the environment. And quickly we started destroying. I remember hunting with my brothers, going to swim. Then slowly, by the time I was almost 20, these things disappeared. The rivers, which was permanent, started to dry up. So my kids could not swim. Most of the trees had gone. And also where we could fish, there was no fish and all that. This destruction of the environment, as I studied, it really started eating me hard to think, wait a minute, what can I do at home? So immediately I finished. In fact, one of my research was looking at the dryland tree species. So the ones I collected data, I came and planted at home. And when I with this to do something and make my community better and also have better and good environment like in the state, I say let's start somewhere. So I had passionate to come and solve all those problems I faced. I mean, seeing good things, then you destroy the environment and started to see the negative effects of that. So I came home and I started with about 27 farmers. What is interesting was when you go to the States and you come back to your community, people expect a lot. Either you have a lot of money or you want to take them back to US. So when I mobilized my people, the 27 farmers, they still had that notion, are you bringing us money? Are you going back to state to stay there? But I was a very try moment to convince them, no, I went there, I studied, and the knowledge I got, if we work together, we can solve all these problems. And the why I also started, I called the whole project Drylands, is because my training was also on the same. So the name comes from what I'm good at. And also I knew, because of my studies, I also learned there's a lot of need in the drylands. You find almost on drylands places, the poverty levels are higher even than in the wetter places. And that way I knew if I start solving my community's problems, it will also be a duplicate to other places. People might come and see that and they duplicate, because I don't think as a person you can solve all the problem, but you can set an example for others to copy. So with that, I think is what really got into me, and we started the journey of try to reverse those nice environment and ecosystem services I used to enjoy, and they disappeared even in my lifetime. And I felt I need to do something. I think, Sheena, that's in many words, it's what really motivated him to come and do something. At the same time, just a quick one, I knew also when when you travel, you also realize local problems, they are mostly understood by local people. They need almost local solutions. So I had this advantage of, I totally understand them. I come from that. I grew up understanding them. So as I related with my people, I knew we could easily come with a solution because I kind of intuitively understood the problems. So that's another thing why I said I better start home than to go to other communities, which will be hard for me even to understand their issues.
That's a key message out there, is that start where you're from, or start where you are first, to create that change for people to be, inspired and drawn from that, to be able to then use what could work for their communities. I think you've really set that example for many people to kind of come to you and learn these principles. So I think it's really inspiring that you went back to your home, you saw the challenges, from your youth up until now in your adulthood, and have now created a change where people can identify with as you speak. So that's thank you for sharing that. So you have a team out there at DNRC. How many of you are part of the team there? And how do you inspire them to lead in that kind of way, that where they will, set a, should I say, just inspire the community rather, to become the pioneers, to teach one another as a community?
Sure, sir. Thank you, Sheena. I have about 14 staff, and all the staff we have in the NRC, apart from those who have joined us the other day, I've taken them through the trainings. I meet with them, I tell them exactly the vision, where we are going, and where we want to be. And one of the things we have really looked at is like we want to remain small and effective, and we want not to leave behind the sustainability aspect of it. So I make sure during the orientation the staff understands that. In fact, anytime, most of them I have taken them through my classes. The permaculture course I've been teaching, I make sure they go that. In fact, now the current class, one of our farm manager who started, he started working on our farms, and she's doing very well. We have just enrolled her to be part of that PDC, so that they totally understand. I came to realize knowledge is so important. Even as I work with the community, unless people understand the connections of many things, then you might blame them not to perform, but once they understand, I think it's easy. And I have spent a lot of time teaching, either teaching farmers, teaching my staff, try to let them make mistakes, I correct them. So that way, and also in recruitment, I have been watching people who can understand what we want, and also mind to what we believe, because as a founder and also the CEO, you need team who are supporting you on your dream, not really those who are fighting. So slowly I have built a very good team who, even if I'm not there, they can run it. And even when you come to the NRCS, we teach most of the units, people say, wait a minute, I come here and nobody is supervising. I come here, I see everybody knows what to do. That is getting the right people and training them. And I must say, like, what so far we have achieved, not my effort. You just direct people and they do it. And because permaculture talks of there are ethics. You have to care for the people, care for the environment, and also there's fair share. I have decided we practice those ethics, especially in terms of even if not really paying them well, but we treat them well. We cook, they take 10 o'clock tea, they have nice lunch, variety of what we grow. They also eat chapatis. I don't know whether Mary knows chapati. They also, in the evening, they are porridge. So that treatment makes them work. And I think as a permaculture site, you also have to practice those ethics. And the people should feel appreciated. Like if you want for sure to get eggs, you have also to feed the goose. So we use that policy of try to use the principles of permaculture, the ethics, and even now with these difficult times, I'm thankful because we're able to even work very hard in our income generating, and without even funding, we have managed to survive. Also have pay salaries, be able to run our activities because everybody is working very hard and producing. So I teach a lot because I know for sure I'll retire. I'll be happy to retire early. And because I started the NRC at our place, I always tell them if I knew it was not a good thing, I could not have started. And I want to continue our time for our kids forever, less forever, because I got the land and I think I dedicated it to let it just be a resource for the whole community. And we model most of the things and they can duplicate. So that way, and also most of my staff for sure they come from around. You'll be surprised, like our cook is a farmer, he's also doing permaculture. So the people I'm bringing water for the tree nursery, they are also from around. But we have also mixed, like I have Maasai, I have guys from Mombasa, but it is a mixture of people who believe what we are trying to do. And I hope you'll come and meet them at one point. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it will be nice to get to hear from them.
Yeah, that's very nice. I like how you kind of use the permaculture principles are not, or the ethics are not really only just for the land, but it's for the people around us, it's the community. That's kind of, you can use those same ethics in our daily lives as well. So I really like that you've used that example. And you talked a little bit about, I think even just observing and interacting around you to be able to put those kind of ethics for your team to work together is a pretty good way to start. And I remember you saying one time that you didn't even have the funding to start all this. You started just small and steady, which is also a permaculture principle. And you kind of just started from that base and picked up from there. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Like, initially having no funds, because I think people will be able to relate with that when you don't really have a lot of capital or funding to begin. How can you inspire these people to just start with the resources that they have around them, like you did initially?
Yes, thank you for that. I said we started with 27 farmers. Now has moved to about 800. And when I came back to the community to start, I knew I'll do permaculture, but I did not have funding. And that helped a lot because I had the knowledge to teach. I did not want them to pay when I teach. And I could raise seeds to plant a bit of tree seedlings within diversity and all that, so that I could do without any funding. And then as I trained them, I brought them to pay for ownership. I wanted them to pay at least $0.3 something. And you could pay that installment, you could pay that you could pay even in terms of labor. You come work, then that is compensated. And that way, the farmers from the word go also felt this is our project, because if we are being asked also to contribute in the beginning and there is nothing to give, The only thing is education, which they never paid and they appreciated. I think that really put us in the right path, because I don't know if I had a lot of fund, how I will start. Maybe I start pay farmers to meet or like give free seeds. And that way, the first group knew exactly this is our project. This is our this is our this is our thing. And I wanted to create that ownership. So I wanted to create that ownership of because if I knew if I gave them free seeds or like gave them free things, what will happen is maybe the trees will do well. Maybe what we are promoting will do well in their farms, but they will not be happy for themselves. They will say, look at those nice trees. Look at those nice Nicholas's trees. So even if they paid something small, that really made them to feel these trees are paid something, even if it's like negligible, but they felt they paid something. So another thing for those who really want to start is to think of also you start with, if you are working with the community, you start with a felt need. You start small, but you have a bigger picture of the whole picture in mind. Because for us, the major problem was firewood, and environment was bad thing. So what I wanted is like, let's start trees, and we plant so much diversity, because firewood was an issue, and I knew we have lost a lot of tree species I used to enjoy when I was growing up. So I started from that, but I knew it will build into many things, like in terms of economics. I knew if they planted Moringa, they diversify, plant mangoes, like they plant so many tree species, and each farmer is planting, then we are solving the already felt need, but at the end of the day, it pairs into income, it pairs into social as they work together. So Sheena, I think as long as you have a knowledge and you have idea and you tell people and they understand it, they'll journey with it, because through experience I've learned farmers need also to know what is your intention. And no matter how much English you use, no matter how much nice you are good at talking, but they will see your intentions. Immediately they identify the intentions to make them better off, to journey with them. You are not there to con them. I think they start supporting you. And if you get the social support and everybody support, then you can start anything. And I think that's what I experienced. And it's what we are built on. A good example, even now, my people know they don't have to get something. In fact, like I see this picture now, they are passing very fast. This is a school I went to. So when I went there to plant with the kids, and I told them I was in this school, I traveled. So we can do this together. We can have enough vegetables. You can see those bananas and so they quickly buy that. And if you are genuine with them and you are journeying, then it becomes easy to start. Because I think what you need to start with is the dream, the idea, and where you want to go. You have a bigger picture, but your start is small. That's what happened. And if possible, you just help farmers where really there is need. Because if you let them also own what you are doing and they pay something small for it and they are part of it, like this dancing, this is a dancing thing. That way you are good.
Thank you for sharing that. I think those are great examples right there. And also, I think one of the lessons here is lead by example. Is what you're trying to leave behind as well. Is that the people that are part of your team are obviously learning this from you, but then also using this ability to use the same skills within the community members themselves to grow that into a space of a shared experience between everybody. One thing I've always enjoyed when I've come there is like this. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I forgot in short. We were planting trees. That was the first thing. And I made sure I also planted. If you see my first trees, they are as big as the other farmers. So like for sure you have to show, farmers have to show you believe what you are telling them. Like now I told them, let's plant trees in different species as our zone 4. And then imagine if I never planted. So mine were like the best. So as they look around, they see that, they also copy the same. So I think wherever you don't journey with them, then it becomes a difficult thing. They will always sense that and they pick it, and what you are telling, you don't believe in it. You just tell it for the second. I think that they can't buy it. They will eventually know your intention and maybe they won't be successful. Go ahead, Sol.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, doing it with them, you know, that's like leading by example there. One thing I've really enjoyed when I've come there is the cultural part is strong. I feel within your organizational development is that the community there loves song and dance. And I think that's something that brings communities together. And I've seen that respect while I've visited your center. Can you tell us a little bit more about this cultural aspect, why it's such a big and important thing that is part of your organization?
Sure. Thank you for that. I still go back to DNRC. It's based mostly on permaculture. We look at both the social, the economic, and also the environment. We want to balance that stool so that we don't leave something behind. And I have come to realize that the social aspect, to get people to do what you want, is such a big thing. So you have to find ways to bring people together. Like our case, because you want the whole community to plant trees, let them know each other. So we have introduced some of the things to build the sense of community, to strengthen the social aspect. And the one is, they contribute, they start a party, they eat together. Once you have eaten and you are well fed, you like to dance. So we also introduce music, because after eating, they get into dancing. And that way, they laugh together, they do all sorts of together. That way brings them together because they know each other. And the one dances is so important for us, because for when they are a team, they are like a team, they know each other, they dance together, they eat together, they gossip together, and all that kind of thing. Then you are building the sense of community, and the fabric becomes very strong. Like, and even the service aspect, when they come, some are selected, they come, they cook for the others. That way they feel they are useful, their service. When we introduce the music, you'll find also there are those who are good in singing, they are good in drum beating, some good in cooking. So once you tap all those knowledge and they serve each other, then everybody feels important and they want to identify with whatever you are doing, whatever project you are doing. It helps them to want to be part of it. Like now, in fact, most of the time it's like we don't want to have everybody because we don't have the resources, but the community and outside the community, they are trying to join because of mostly the music, the singing. And also, Sheena, I know you are in permaculture, and Bill used to say it's easy to dig a soil, it's easy to plant a tree, but the challenge is, how do you get people to believe to plant the tree? So the social aspect to us is so important, and we have many. You saw another picture where we are installing water tanks. I wanted them also to have common labor, because when they work together, they kind of this system of working together, they get to know each other better, and the aspect of care of the people get into them, and that way they start thinking of each other and they try to help. Like now that tank, we just buy it, the whole community comes, they install it. Immediately you see all this community coming and install for them. They install the tank for you. Even when now you have the water, you have to share. So I also wanted to create, because when I was growing up, there was more care, there was more relationship, there was more sense of community. That is another aspect which kind of is being lost, and I wanted it to come back. So it is as important as the tree planting. It's the aspect of the social part.
Yeah, it's really important. I think the images are really powerful. And I think one of the questions was like, are there, so these farmers, obviously their families are also involved in this entire process, right? You are also working with the family so that there's a common ground between everyone that is part of this journey with you. So that they're able to then take care of the trees, the vegetation, their own farms as well. They make decisions together. That's something that comes out strong with this development. Is that correct?
Yes, like now how the NRC is also managed in terms of ownership. They form summit because we are working with 12 groups and the 12 schools. So the groups themselves send a leader of that group and they come and they form what we call summit. So even these parties, installation of tanks, issuance of trees is also decided by the leaders of each group sending a lead and they form a summit. So we call it a summit, and that decision, they are all involved. In fact, in the NRC does very little, like organizing that singing and getting that's about the farmers themselves decided. They come, go ask for go ask for contribution on the same, they do the budgeting, they buy the stuff, they cook, they read the budget to the farmers, because I think that transparency helps them also to contribute. So, and yes, that helps a lot in terms of everybody involved. Like now, why I said we also work with the 12 schools is because you want to engage the whole community. I think a community will have teachers, will have medicine people, we'll have young people, we'll have old people. So everybody in the area we work with is engaged. Because the school, the kids plant, they go home, they find the parents are planting, and that way. Like this picture is, we also kind of promoted the indigenous vegetable, indigenous foods. Because when I was growing up, I enjoyed a lot of local food, which is very rich. Like this is fermented porridge. And that way, you get the old people even teaching the young ones, because this is the food they eat, the young ones have not eaten. So everybody gets involved. I think all of us as human beings, we want to be useful, we want to be relevant. And when all this now you create a situation where everybody has to contribute, that helps a lot.
Absolutely. I think those are really key points in the community development and the social part of permaculture, and bringing everyone together and including the families. And I really like the idea of the ownership part. You mentioned that a lot on your courses as well. And that once there's transparency, they all trust one another. And I think that's important for this development to take shape long term. So it's really nice to hear that. And these images obviously speak volumes of that. How about we jump into the NRC a little bit as a demo site? What is a demonstration farm? What is that to you? Like, what does that mean for you? How did the NRC become that for people from all over to come and see this as an example of practice where you're applying a lot of the permaculture principles? How long did it take for you to really develop it into a model farm? And what were some of the challenges and successes that have come with that? If you could share that with us.
Sure, thank you for that. DNRC is in about 3 acres of land. Most of our farmers, they have the same acres of land. So we came into this land 2014. And without much funding, you started implementing. In fact, the first thing we had to design the farm using permaculture design methods. Some of the students, I don't know whether it was your group, but they helped also to design. I think guys from Wisconsin also helped. So by designing, then we put a lot of elements, what needs to be where, when, especially in zones, element analysis, also through observation. We came up with a design, and then we started implementing. And this implementation is like we started within zone 0, where you saw those houses, we built those ones. Someone helped us to build a small office. We built the office, which is zone 0. Then after building the office, a friend of mine, I think is 20, when was this? Almost 2019, came, stayed with us and decided to help us with a kitchen garden where we joined to build the big house, to build the hall. We have a hall which is very nice with a capacity of about 50. Yes, this one. This hall is joined with, it has, this is the seat, this is the, we have a restaurant, we have the conference, and in between is a kitchen. And this house is a big one. And for the ownership, the farmers came to build it because it's a cob and it needed a lot of labor. So the farmers knew they need a place to come, sit, because it is within their, so they helped. And the only thing the NRC did was to cook for them. And if you look at the roof, is a local, we use the local reeds. And this knowledge is also within the community. So they came and helped to touch it. And that way now, this is one of like now one of the DNRC thing, which is enabling us now to run the courses, because we have a nice restaurant, which is local, use cob, using local materials and not expensive for us. And we have that. So this one came, I think, 2018, 2019. And now we can run courses, we can provide meals in a decent place. Then we had built the cob houses. I think when you came, we had like one cob house. Now we have 3. So still the design is there, but we are slowly building. Yes, this one. I think there are 3. There are 3 now. This is also a cob. It's a soil. We just use the soil, use what is available, because these are reeds and they're in a nearby river, so it's not expensive for us. So we have also set that site, and it is really a permaculture site because it uses the local materials. It is a decent place. People also have even started coming to stay there for days, and we have students coming from Wisconsin. I think they like this one. And maybe I'm diverting. We also have now we have also brought the bees, which is now conservation area. That is zone 5. If you come there, you find we have zone 5. We have also planted trees. Like now where trees are that is our food forest. We have very nice food forest. We have very nice kitchen gardens. All these elements are there, and we have chickens. I think I forgot to send that. We have chickens, and we have also other animals. And our nursery has become so big. So the site, Sheena, the whole goal is DNRC is a resource place for the farmers. So whatever we are doing it to identify with them. Like those houses, because they disappeared, they used to be there. I hope they will pick them. You come and see our eco toilet. I hope farmers will pick them. We build a hall like that, they will want to build such. So it is a demonstration, a farm, and hoping that each farmer, each of my community, my neighbors will start borrowing, and they have started a lot. You will be surprised how quickly now the whole permaculture demonstration farm we are demonstrating in DNRC, most farmers are replicating that. So that's what we want. We are not, it is a resource place. It's a place for cooperation. For cooperative. It's a place of resources in terms of these trees, because we found if this is what we want to see in the community, the ones disappearing, then we need to raise them. And that way it's like, it has become a very side. In fact, initially we were just serving our people. I wanted our people to copy this, do it. But now, with the need for permaculture, the need for agroecology, and with our work in PR, and then now people are like, where is this site which is fully developed? So they come to DNRC. We are getting a lot of visitors on the same. And I like the fact that we started earlier, things are shaping up, and then people are coming to replicate. In fact, I can even name a few have come seen DNRC, they are copying the same. You can go to Meru, they are trying to do that. I know Embu, they have copied exactly what we are doing. They also try to implement that. So at the end of the day, the sustainability, that this replication of sustainable systems like this one. So
It's important. I mean, having a central location like this is a place where people can obviously meet and come together and like be able to see what you're applying. Even you talked a little bit about your trainings. You run a lot of PDCs, so that's another income generating activity for you. So the people that are coming for these courses are able to also help you apply the practices that you want as per the design that you're envisioning for the NRC. That's pretty important. You've had several students from all over come for like many years now on these courses and have helped you design these complex systems that we're talking about. So we know that you can't do this on your own, but you can develop activities around you that can support these ideas. Do these farmers that also come to the center to be inspired, maybe even come, buy the seedlings from you, do they also have their own tree nurseries in their designated areas where they live?
Yes, some, some have, but there's something I discovered with the tree nurseries. You'll find they have tree nurseries, but only a few species, because some species are technical. So what we decided is to have like one in DNRS with a mega nursery, and that way we can get all the species we want, because like things like Melia, Focasia add to things like Terminarium brownie. Most of these wild lost indigenous species, they are very hard to propagate. So we decided we just have one nursery. Then the issuing of these seeds, so that we make sure the farmers they plant most of the seedlings, who goes around, lists how many tree seedlings they need, and then when they come for this, like, assume now you wanted 100 seedlings to plant, then you are mixed, like we have like almost 14 different species. So you'll get Moringa, you'll get Terminari, because at the end of the day, when they plant all this and they are similar, then the economies of scale will come in. Like now you see our case of Moringa, I know we might mention that, but each farmer has like 10 trees, 5 trees. So anytime we want to sell Moringa, they come in. You can contribute, you distribute. It's like a co-op, because all farmers are planting what you want, and you have a market for it. Then it becomes easy to sell, not a mono or try to do it yourself, but the farmers doing this more. That's what's happening.
That's good to know. One of your income generating activities in regards to Moringa is you're producing Moringa powder that's for many years now, that's been enjoyed widely around Kenya. And then you're also producing the Moringa oil, which is now being exported. Does this incentivize the farmers? Is this, are you also including them in this market linkage, where they're also growing these trees, so they're buying the Moringa trees, but also producing the powder, or is it just an activity for DNRC itself?
No. It's a farmer's Moringa. DNRC site can grow. Maybe it grows like 3 kilos, and the Lash buys for us like 1,000 kilos every, I think, 3 months or so. So it is each farmer bringing like 10 kilos. If you are talking about 800, and each brings like even 1 kilo, then you can supply that. So the farmers, because we planted Moringa without even knowing whether it's so important, but because of diversity, then it became a tree they can sell. That is very important for the farmers, because it's like, oh, you told us to plant this tree, we don't know the use. Now eventually it's okay, we can make money out of this. The same with almost all the trees we are planting, because we look also at the economical value, because farmers are very careful. They also try to survive. And if you tell them plant an acacia, if you don't attach also economical aspect, it's so hard for them to think about environment. I think there's connection between the poverty level and also caring for the environment. So you also want to bring in the money part. I mean, it's like, you know, we're planting these local trees, indigenous, so you have to tie with a lot of income generating. And the Moringa was one. Acacia, we also make something called green charcoal. We also do a bit of carving now. The powder itself, the farmers, in fact, they eat it. We buy, they bring it in the NRC. We aggregate and we sell. So the NRC just acts like an aggregation place. The farmers bring, they are paid. Lush takes the Moringa like that. The powder the same. They bring the leaves, we dry them, we powder. DRC makes a bit of money, and also they make that. So without the farmers, for sure I mean, if we never replicated what we are trying to do at the site, then it becomes very hard to sell. So that way it's like they own that. And we sell also baskets. We sell these, is it the carvings? And you know, when John Sheffin brings the students, they carry a lot. I have some people also taking carvings and the basket. So that way the farmers now see the benefit. We are planting trees, we can benefit. We make money out of it. Environment is changing and all that. So it's not in the NRC. NRC doesn't have a site to grow a lot of Moringa to sell alone. We just source from the farmers, train them, issue them from the nursery to plant more and all that.
That's great. That's great to hear. I mean, I think that cooperation between the farmers and the tree nursery on the education aspect of it, to learn the uses of the trees, not just distributing trees, to say, you know, often we see that in you know, counties here where the representatives kind of give the trees to the communities and the farmers and ask them to go grow it, but there's no education aspect on why they're growing these trees, but they just do it. But so I like the model of, you know, your team is organizing some kind of training and education around these specific trees you just mentioned and why they're important for soil building, but also that they will provide a value-added product from it. So I think that incentivizes the communities to kind of come forward and do this. So it becomes a long-term goal, is to see that they're thriving and they're finding a way to regenerate income back into the projects to thrive. Otherwise, we cannot really, you know, asking for funding, because that will run out at some point. So how do we make demonstration sites at a stage where you can have nutrition security, food security, and then you're looking at the market value for those products. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Just how important it is for us to develop these sites to become sustainable in that way, so that we are using just resources that are around us in the long haul.
Yes, it's thank you for that. I think sustainability is important. And if you know, permaculture talks about a good design, a good design within 6 years or so should be needing less money. If your design needs a lot of money, after even 7 years, then it's not a good design. And you know, development in a community, development is continuous. I think people miss that. They miss that. They say this is a 2-year project, this is a 5-year project. Development is forever. Everybody is trying to develop. Even our president is trying to develop. You are trying to be better off. So the site should be aimed to be sustainable, such that is forever helping the people to be better off. So if you just rely on funding, like 5-year funding, 3-year funding, then you wouldn't be sustainable. And our case is, for example, like now you see nurseries, you are talking about 700 farmers, 800. Each pays 3 bob. When they all pick the trees and they plant, then we can pay whoever is fundraising forever. I mean, whoever is doing the trees. So even if, I mean, we got nothing funding, then the nursery will run forever and the farmers will have trees to plant. So the same with, like, if we now talk of the trainings, sustainability is so important. And then now with the COVID, with so many NGOs, with so many people wanting to fund, it will, for sure, it will just become less. Funding will become a big issue as you develop. I mean, it's like so many competition. So if you want to have a community to build sustainability aspect of it, because I mean, it is the ethical thing to do, because You don't want to go place, work with community, leave them once, then now they start looking at you like you are con man. You came, you kind of cheated them, you got fundy, then you leave them. That way, ethically, I think it's not a permaculture ethics. It's if that is not the best. And then you know, when you work with the farmers and you are able to address the economical aspect, they can easily support what you are doing. Like our case now, they bring Moringa. We buy Moringa, we send. The farmers contribute like, I think 15% of that to DNRC. It's like you are paid them, you are buy, they bring a kilo, they know a bit of that will go to support whoever is planting Moringa in the nursery. So you empower them, they make more money, then they support whatever you are doing. Because even if you look international fund, you can also look as farmers, it's become better, then they can help if you have a good relationship. Like they can come fetch water for you, they can pay for the seeds. If you are doing timber, whichever they sell, they can contribute. And that is how I see how sustainable that can be. Because you don't want them to feel they are donors as farmers eventually. You want them to feel good. I mean, this nursery, I'm contributing something. This all I came and build. That itself, they are happy for themselves, not only for you. And I think that is something for Kina, who is this Priscilla, and let them see the farmers as people who can also help, not totally international. They can contribute something for sustainability, as long as they see their benefit from it. So DNRC, I think that is what we are really building on it. Like now, these are beehives. It's nice it came up. You know, I told the farmers to plant acacias, to plant these indigenous trees for beekeeping. I knew long term we'll also have to keep bees, and you know, acacia, they're the best flowers for the bees. So you should also educate them to see long term. Otherwise, if you tell them plant acacia and it is thorny, they don't see the economical aspect. For you, you have to educate. That's why from the beginning I said education is so important. You relate things. And for sure, if you are trying to educate something and you are not good at it, it's better to do a good research. So you are giving right information, and with the time, it can stand the test of time. So that's what we are doing. This one, I don't know whether I have to speak to the pictures, but this one is also the food forest. We were starting this, I think is one of the farmers' place. I was telling them how they need, you see our planting of trees, they are very close. Because in drylands, we want the trees to be close and quickly to form the canopy. And that way you change the environment.
I have a question. When you started your demonstration center, and also when you're training the farmers to create their own model farms, is that something you touch on first, is to start a food forest first and then go into the basic kitchen garden, so that the trees can, kind of start at that stage where they'll, it'll take a few years for them to be mature? Is that something you start off with, is to go into trees and agroforestry first, and then go down to the basics of a kitchen garden?
Yes, like for our case, for sure, we started with the trees, which now it is in permaculture is zone 4, because when I was coming back 2008, I think it was 2008, firewood was a big issue. So I felt like, what is that thing we first start, and once we succeed, we build on that success. So we started with the trees, and because I brought in very nice trees. I mean, the local trees grow without watering, they do well. So immediately they saw, oh, wait a minute, now we have excess trees, we have excess firewood, which was a big issue. That way, then now you introduce another thing. So you also build on successes, because immediately in permaculture, you start many things, you get overwhelmed. And once you get overwhelmed, then you can give up. So we were starting with what we felt it is the most important need first. You solve that, they see the success, you go to the next. Like now we went to food forest. I think food forest is another thing we are building a lot on the same. This is woodland, these are trees, but food forest is where now we have the layers. I think it's more than agroforest system. I think this is a very good system in dryland. I'm learning a lot from it, because like now the bananas you are seeing, I took this picture yesterday, was it? By the time I was sending, I think this is the picture I took. So
Yep.
you see this banana is producing, and this is one of the driest places where bananas are not supposed to grow. But because of the shade behind, then now you find the trees and the bananas, they support each, and that is the system in the drylands. So this is another thing farmers are learning, food forest, and how we are in the cropping, many things, so that even during the worst part of food security, like now Kenya they just announced the other day food emergency. It's a national emergency food security. But now with this system in the dryland, in fact, we are in Makueni. You can think of Makueni is one of the places declared as a emergency in terms of food. People are dying, but you come to the side farmers, okay, we have a lot, we have bananas, we have cassavas, mangoes are coming up. So you are almost sure even the farmers themselves, if they approach this system, then in terms of nutrition or security, food sovereignty, all that is they will be able to solve that. Yes. Yes.
And do the farmers themselves feel like they so the farmers themselves feel like they once they have practices, have seen that it's working, and they are modeling it now on their sites, do they become empowered to now teach more and more farmers? Is that something you're seeing that's creating an impact for the region?
Yes, it did happen. Even another thing I never knew was, we are about 7 kilometers radius. So what happens? The ladies from this place, some are married far, so they come back. When they come back, it's like, wow, what has changed? Then they come, and the farmers themselves bring them. And they say, you see how we plant things? If theirs is not as good as DRC, we see them coming and start teaching them. Because, the people left our community, so they come back. So you find the farmers teaching now. It's very interesting to show them now teaching. When you left, we started doing this. See how they are doing well, see what things are happening. So all that it's happening. Once you are empowered, there's something I found very interesting with the farmers. Immediately they see we can do this, then you can't reverse that. Immediately, it's like they see, wait a minute, we did not have firewood. We can buy the seeds, we can do that. And now we have changed. It is raining more. That is very empowering. And our farmers, in fact, the first ones, they have got into that level. For them to tell them to do something, they know we can do this, they can do that. It's very empowering, especially when they are part of it and they contribute, they feel they own it. Very interesting.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's the demonstration site that, that really, once you've applied it, that becomes the central location for people to really be inspired to continue once you see the results. So seeing is believing. And so I think mixing up the theory and the practical knowledge is really important for us to build these sites to a point where we're also creating a needs list for what we want to see to achieve. So there are people on this call actually that are starting up, some of their own projects and starting up their own demonstration farms, or already have their own demonstration farms that have been set up. Some of the challenges always comes around that they may be going too fast. So something you did was start, slow and steady to reach to this point. Is why I asked, did you start with the forest, the agroforestry first, and then go down to the basics, so that you had this canopy layer to kind of show the results. Also documenting the stages of development. So you've shared that pretty well from what you saw, from maybe 8 years ago versus 2 years ago, and now you're seeing a rapid change, and the farmers start to see that too. So for us to kind of demonstrate in our own centers for people to see that, that's important. one of the practices within the agroforestry is the FMNR that you are really also emphasizing on with the farmers. Can you just talk a little bit more about this and what that stands for, and why is it important for you in this drylands situation?
Thank you for that. It's, FNR is farmer managed natural regeneration. Farmer managed natural regeneration. If it's their pastoralist doing it, then you can easily call it pastoralist managed natural regeneration. And what this means is a friend of mine, we work on this, is called Tony. We met in Jordan, and it's like I really got interested with that. And then my studies in dryland issues, I found is one of the things there is a way of planting trees in the drylands. So what it simply means is like most in dryland tree species, they sprout and they carpus, and then there are a lot of seeds on the ground. So when it rains, they always try to come up. But because of the goats, because of the animals, because of clearing, then you end up not becoming trees, and they become shrubs, and then they will never be trees. So when we talk of farmer managed, is first you go to your farm, when it rains or just before it rains, they are trying to come up. You identify which trees are trying to come up, and you support them to grow. That way, then you are working with the nature, because nature is trying to bring up the trees which they used to be there. It's like regeneration. It's try to regenerate this. So you support them, you prune them, you either fence them from the goats, and quickly it becomes a forest. So that is the easiest way to explain. Without planting trees, you just first be looking out which ones are coming out, and you learn their values, which one do you want to tend them to grow and all that. So in drylands, I think if you combine FNR, farmer managed natural regeneration, and also planting trees, and especially the ones which grow in that region, then you quickly attain forest. Like us was that quick. So we combine both. That's why I think it is one of the techniques you can easily use in the drylands, and it is working for us. I teach a lot. In fact, I factored it in our course. Anytime we are doing permaculture design course, it's one of the topics we do a lot, and also we do practicals. And farmers identify a lot, especially those coming from drylands of Kenya. It's like, wow, I never imagined these trees. And then it's like, okay, I see them, but we let the goat, or we clear them without unconsciously, without looking at them. And they always try to come up. Nature is very interesting. They try always to regenerate, but we suppress it always through goats, through of I cutting them and all that. And then you also, once you tell the farmers, they become aware, then they quickly start letting them. Like now in DNRC, what we are finding, apart from planting trees, they also now conserving the indigenous ones. You teach them the importance of trees, why we need to plant. Then now they say, okay, anytime I want to harvest a tree, I'll only cut the branches. I can sustainably harvest. So you find now, I see around these indigenous tree species, the old ones, the bigger ones, be kind of preserved, because the knowledge is across the farmers, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think also tweaking the curriculum to the needs of the community and the locations that you're working with, the context of the location and what is really required. So I really like that you've worked on growing the trees that particular region has really needed and has lacked. And so you've gone down that route to find out what the needs were and what the communities would see in terms of a rapid change to be able to then demonstrate where they are. Nicholas, I know we've touched on a lot of different topics, and I know we'll probably ask for more feedback with the people that have been listening in and see what they want to focus more on for the next one. But I just want to thank you so much for making the time to just be on this with us during this webinar and share all of the experiences of developing your center, all the successes that you've had. Are there any other last points or any thoughts that you want to share for people that are starting up, for people that have been doing this for a long time, but often find an obstacle? Is there something you want to share with the folks that are joining in today to listen to your webinar?
Sure. I mean, it's always nice to understand yourself and also what you are good at and what your passion is, and you try to tie that with what you want to do. Because once you combine passion and then what you are good at, all your skills or training, and you try to utilize that and also make it your career, that helps a lot. Because I see people try to really copy and paste. You want to do something either because there's money in that field or because of something else. But it's always nice to follow your heart, because like for my case, all my studies has been in drylands, try to work with communities. So to start that becomes easy, and it's what I like. So whether I'm paid to come and teach my farmers or I'm not paid, I can do that because of passion. So to those who want to do something, also look at your passion, because that helps a lot. At the same time, I think people really want to think of a name. It's like you want to be, you are looking at ways to be famous or to be known or that. I think if you do that, you might lose the sense, because at the end of the day, we can't do so much. We just do very little. You know, people think you can do so much, become famous. It's not everybody will be like that. But if you can follow your passion, start small things, they are sustainable, and everybody does that, then that's how I see the world will change. Because it's a small sustainable system being replicated in many places, and it will become sustainable. So don't be afraid, because like for us, I started home, Shane. I don't know whether you know that. I started, I mean, the trees I planted was at home. I employed 2 people. We are starting at home. By the time we expanded, we become 3, 4. Then it started interfering with the mom. You come to work in the nursery. Then my mom tells me, can you go fetch water first? Can you cook for me? So it started interfering. So you can start anywhere. But when you want, I want all of a sudden in a very short time, I have done so much. I think that is not the right approach. It is more of just believe on something, stick it long enough. Like Sheena, you know, we have stuck in this permaculture for long. We were young when we were starting, is it? I mean, it's like, is it almost how many years now? 10 years down the line? Was it 2010? Yes, almost now 11 years. So you stick to what you believe, and as long as you're passionate, you will stick to it for sure. In a few words, that's what I want to encourage the others. And we share. And if you follow the permaculture aspect, I mean, principles of cooperation, no competition, we'll go far. You look at the ethics, because I train a lot of people, but I know that at the end of the day, we miss also those ethics, those principles. If we are guided by that, I think it becomes easier to succeed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You know, the other thing is also building the allies next to you, you know, the people that are also doing the same work. It's okay to have shared experiences with those people, to be able to find common ground, work with one another, because we cannot do this all on our own. And it takes a little bit of networking and finding that common ground to get to the stage where you're at as well. So this is why, you know, this kind of a conversation also builds on similar interests that people that are listening in on this webinar also have. And so this is a great way to kind of share, educate, because there are people who have the same challenges as well within this work. So you can always find common ground there.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicholas, for this again. And I think we've all learned a lot. And what really comes out strong is the community aspect of really building a community to the culture. that is there. You're not really creating something new. You're going towards that traditional system that was always there, building from there, building the trust within the community, and then setting up the center, which now is becoming a learning hub for all these people to come and see what you have applied there within this context of permaculture. So
Sure.
thank you for that.
Welcome.
So we do have some time for question and answers. But just some questions from people that are listening. If you'd like to ask anything, something that is a key takeaway for you from this, anything you're struggling with within your own project that you want to ask Nicholas, feel free to do that.
This is Mary. Thank
Take
you
this
so much,
opportunity to
Sheena and Nicholas. Not sure why the sound
Yes, we
is,
can
but
hear you.
okay, great. I wanted to know a little bit more about the step that you took to start the exporting relationship with the Moringa oil and learning that process. Could you tell us just a little bit about what was important for you to learn as you started on that journey, and how others might begin that process as well? Because that's fairly complex from what I understand.
Sure, Mary. I think it is. And what Sheena was saying is about relationships. Because what happened is we were working with the Lush in PRI Kenya. And after we came to start our own project, they followed, they visited, and they were able to see the farmers, and they got interested with Moringa seeds. So I must say, maybe it was meant to be. It's not really me looking like how do I export Moringa and all that, but someone coming to us and asking whether he can buy from Moringa, because they were interested on organic Moringa powder. I mean organic Moringa oil. And when they saw our farmers, the way they grow without chemicals and the diversity and the practice of permaculture, that's how they got interested. Otherwise, it's not really in the NRC looking at ways of how do we export. And even in the market for baskets, let's say this international market, the things we sell internationally, it's also about relationship, because most people buy also from Wisconsin state. That's how they come, they go with them, and they buy from us. So it's about also relationship, I must say. I don't know whether I'm answering your question, but that's how it happened.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. So you had somebody who knew the ropes bring you
Exactly.
in and help you learn how to do that, basically.
Exactly, that's true.
Do you expect that you will try to develop other products now that you've learned to do that could also go out to other markets, or is that enough? You have sort of a sense of how much you can manage at this point.
Like what happened with most of the trees we are developing, we are planting many things. So a product will be becoming okay. Like now we are thinking of sunflower oils, because farmers also planted that. So once that is well, we can have local market as well as looking for ways to export that. We also looking at one of the trees we are planting, also hardwood. We call it Terminarium brownie. I mean, what is it? Melia fokensi. Once it's big enough, I'm thinking we might split those timber. Then, because it's a hardwood, might look for international market on the same if we want to fetch more. So the products are maturing as we advance. And in fact, like Moringa, now farmers are able to sell almost most of them, but we are planting more. I'm expecting something we can expand once we have more. Because every year we plant Moringa as one of the trees, Moringa seeds, among many other species. So slowly we might expand the same on that tree. But locally, we also look at other ways to sell. I don't know whether we sell charcoal. That
Yes,
sounds
I heard
fun, is
you.
it?
That's the acacia, the green acacia.
Exactly. So we are trying to, it is like social enterprise. I don't know, you are aware of that. Like, how do we also start whatever we are doing to have a market, whether locally or internationally? So that will grow as things mature, I think. That is our aim.
That's fabulous.
Yes. So we are taking every step at a time, because like now, Moringa is ready. We are thinking of fruit trees coming along. The mangoes we planted, they are trying to mature. These wild fruits we are also trying to plant, they will grow, all that. So it's interesting when the future looks like that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Kuma or Aaron, do you have any questions, since you both are at the early stage of expanding your own operations and might have some specific questions? Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you again, both of you, so very much. This was really wonderful, and I definitely would love to come and visit someday myself. Hopefully, we'll get to do some
Welcome.
additional work together and have some other follow-on webinars as we grow our network there and help our partners expand and learn from each other. So thank you all for coming. I will send around the recording link, and feel free to reach out to Nicholas. Do you have a website, Nicholas, that you'd like to share before we end?
Yes,
Or
we
email?
have. How do I share? I share in reactions or chat. We look at the chat.
Chat.
Yes.
Well, something Nicholas mentioned there is he mentioned Wisconsin a lot. Nicholas developed a relationship with the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point because he was there himself. And so there's a professor there, Dr. Holly Petrillo and John Sheffy, who are partners. They formed a relationship with Nicholas and have used Nicholas's site as one of the model farms to visit each year as an annual PDC that they bring their students from the university integrated with the East African students, and they go to various different sites to teach. So they have a really long, outstanding relationship with Nicholas, and so this is why I mentioned that some of the baskets that the women weave are the ones that the students buy from the DNRC, then take it up with them back to the States. So I think Priscilla was actually one of the students, John Sheffy and Polly Petrillo as well. And they went to many different sites to learn, and Nicholas's was one of the examples.
Well, thank you. We'll include that as we post this recording on our YouTube channel. And for now, I'm going to stop the recording and just thank you all so very much. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas.
Oh,
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Same. Bye.